Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Stadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulasi Devyai Priyaye Keshavasya cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatye Namo Namaha Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10 Chapter 47 Om All hail to Almighty Vasudeva. The argument. To Sri Vrindavan, Uddhava is sent, arrives at Nanda's cowherd settlement. Discoursing on Krishna, they pass the night. Uddhava praises Nanda with delight. How cowherd damsels at the dawn arise, and glorify the Lord of lotus eyes. The sun arising spreads genial beams. These are of chapter 46, the themes. Sri Shuka said, the chief minister of the Vrishni clan, Brihaspati's pupil, a worthy man, in all affairs most wise to comprehend, was Uddhava, Krishna's beloved friend. Once Hari, who removes grief and sorrow for those who seek refuge in him and bow, his friend's pure devotion could understand, and seized within his hands Uddhava's hand. Knowing him singularly devoted, the one illustrious unto him said, Hie thee to Braja, O Uddhava dear, my sorrowing parents revive and cheer. The cowherd damsel's grief you must assuage by conveying to them this my message. They have dedicated for my dear sake mind and breath, and their bodies' needs forsake. They know me as their own beloved one. To me, their lover, their minds and souls run. Whoever gives up worldly convention for my sake, I grant them my protection. O dear one, since I did from them remove, and in absence of the object of their love, Gokula's damsels in perplexity are oppressed by pain and anxiety. These cowherd dames, extremely dear to me, cling on to life with great difficulty, and thus they suffer severance and burn because I promised I would soon return. Sri Shuka said, thus being addressed, Uddhava, O king, the message of his master thence did bring. Mounting upon his car, he forward went to Nanda's distant cowherd settlement. The fortunate one arrived in the town of Nanda's Braja as the sun went down, and dust from tramping herds had made a screen, wherefore he passed into the town unseen. The cows in season caused the bulls to fight, and bellow loud, and exercise their might, while other cows, who burdened others bear, seek out their calves with assiduous care. The snow-white calves here and there skipped and bound, adorning with beauty the region round. The whirling sound of churning did ascend, which with winding of bamboo flutes did blend. The cowherd dames, attired in bright weeds, sing of Bala and Krishna's hallowed deeds, and all the cowherd men, by love inspired, were all neatly adorned and well attired. In honor of fire, sun, guests, and cows, of gods, manes, and vipras of firm vows. The cowherds' homes, commodious and bright, with wreaths, incense, and lamps, were full of light. Thus delightsome was all the forest round, where flower-frequenting humming bees resound. The ruddy geese and waterfowl respond with cooing as they glide the lotus pond. As soon as he arrived at Nanda's home, the latter hastened forth with warm welcome, Krishna's adherent dear, honoured with grace, and seemed him Vasudeva to embrace. Then having been received with courtesies, fed with rare dainties and seated at ease, rubbing his feet as he lay on the bed, the blessed Nanda to Uddhava said, "O most fortunate one, do deign to tell, is Sura's son, my dear friend, faring well? I trust that he in peace and comfort lives, with his own children, friends, and relatives. How fortunate that Kamsa with his kin have met with death by reason of their sin, and he who brought the pious Yadu's pain with all his accomplices hath been slain." Doth Krishna entertain the memory of his mother, myself, and family? Doth he recall his friends and comrades dear, the cowherds and the forest pastures here? Doth he recall the cows and Vrindavan? Doth he remember still Mount Govardhan? Will Krishna ever come this way again to see us? Then we may occasion gain to look upon his smiling handsome face, if he returns but once here to this place. He saved us from the raging forest fire, the wind, the rain, the bull, the serpent dire. All deadly adversity was o'ercome by Krishna, the great, illustrious one. Recalling Krishna's deeds our mind beguiles, attended with his glances and his smiles, his charming laughter and his speech, dear one, slacken our faculties and senses stun. The streams, the hills, the forests, and the vines bear of Mukunda's feet the sacred signs, and who the places of his sports doth see becomes absorbed in self-identity. When I deliberate and weigh the odds, it seems Krishna and Rama are chief gods, who, for the purpose of the gods, display their exploits, as Garga was wont to say. Kamsa, strong as a mighty elephant, was slain, the champions to death were sent. The Tusker chief they slaughtered as in play, as Lion King disposes of his prey. He broke the mighty bow of 3 spans length, and like an elephant displayed his strength. Nay more, for 7 days he took his stand, and held up the great mountain with one hand. They killed the colossal Daityas in the fight, that had put gods and even demons to fright. Pralamba, Dhenuka, Arishta too, and Baka with others, with ease they slew. Sri Shuka said, thus, recalling again and yet again, Nanda was immersed in exquisite pain, his mind engrossed in Krishna fervently, and silent, fell into anxiety. When Yashoda of the exploits had heard, of her son was with fond affection stirred. She felt the pangs of a dear mother's woe, tears from her eyes, milk from her breast did flow. Observing how their love was manifest, he deemed Nanda and Yashoda most blessed, and how by love they were disquieted. Thus Uddhava to Nanda joyful said, Sri Uddhava said, Ye are both worthy of highest renown among all beings, since you make your own Narayana the universal Lord, and this I deem the supremest reward. Rama and Mukunda are both the seed and repository whence all proceed. They are primal nature and nature's lord, and enter in all beings with accord. These two are both the primal ancient one, creator, controlling the creation. Whoso, when life and body separate, and even for a moment meditate, and even though their minds may be impure, release from action's bondage they secure, then freed from every blemish and disdain, the sun-like form of Brahman they attain. But ye have both the supreme self achieved, and the grace of Narayana received, who is the final cause of existence, born as a mortal under some pretense. Great love for him is engendered in you. O great ones, what remains for you to do? Quite soon will come the infallible Lord to Braja and satisfaction afford. The Almighty whom Sattvatas revere will greet with honour his fond parents here. Having slain vile Kamsa and laid him low, who was to all the Sattvatas the foe, Krishna, the truth of his word to maintain, will certainly come back to you again. Therefore, O blessed ones, do not lament. You shall see Krishna when he is present. He dwells in all hearts, be it understood, as fire remains latent within wood. There are none to him more agreeable. No one to him is disagreeable. He doth not apprehend the high or low, but always doth to others honour show. He has no mother, father, wife, nor son. He is not related to anyone. No one to him is stranger or a friend. He has no body nor birth and no end. He has no obligation to fulfill, nor is he born in species good or ill. But to secure safety to holy ones, he manifests playful incarnations. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the gunas three, he transcends as supreme divinity, assuming these as instrumental cause. In play, the birthless creates and withdraws. For one spinning upon the steady ground, it seemeth that the world is whirling round. Even so, by the ego sense confined, he thinks himself the agent but in mind. Illustrious Hari is not your son, but he is the father of everyone. Indeed, he is father, mother, and soul, the supreme ruler of this mighty whole. There is nothing that can be heard or seen. What shall be and what is, what shall have been, nor the great nor the small, nor immobile, and no entity among the mobile. Aside from Achyuta, no thing subsists, the supreme self in whom all this exists. Sri Shuka said, as Nanda and Krishna's friend in delight passed by in conversation the whole night, the cowherd damsels rose at early morn and lighted lamps their matins to perform. They cleansed the house and then sat to churning the tasty curds and cream, O my dear king. Those damsels with glistering gems shone bright, labouring with the ropes in the lamplight, and while they pulled and slackened with their arms, their bangles made a tinkling sound that charms. flowing raiment their sturdy thighs bedeck, their bosoms swayed with garlands on their neck, pendant earrings diffusive lustre show upon their cheeks, reflective of the glow. Their faces were with vermilion drawn, and gleamed with radiance as of the dawn. When Braja's damsels churn the cream and curd, a wonderful and lovely sound is heard, as sing they of the Lord of lotus eyes. The strains ascending touch the vaulted skies, and blend in symphony harmonious, which drives away all inauspiciousness. When Surya, illustrious, rose on high, to Braja's gate the eager people hie, they saw the golden car, and in a throng they made question, to whom does it belong? Perchance Akrura has come back again, who on Kansa's behest to Braja came from the great Madhu city on a day, and took the lotus-eyed Krishna away. His master's obsequies to accomplish, he means perchance to offer up our flesh. Thus while they spoke, Uddhava arrived there, having dispatched his daily rites with care. Thus ends chapter 46 in book 10 of the great and glorious Bhagavata Purana, the text beloved of swan-like saints, sung by the son of Vyasa. Now, chapter 47, the argument. Uddhava, the foremost of devotees, responds to the earnest inquiries. He is astonished to witness and see one of those damsels talking to a bee. He then conveys to them Krishna's message, which doth their grief of severance assuage. He praises their fortune and love profound in verses that their glory doth resound. Then back to the city with gifts repairs. All this chapter 47 declares. Sri Shuka said, Braja's damsels in curiosity foregathered to see Krishna's devotee. They saw him handsome with long stately arms, and eyes that show fresh lotus petals charms, attired in yellow robes, and garlanded with lotuses that sweet fragrances shed. His countenance was like the lotus bright, reflective of his polished earrings light. With vast astonishment they were beguiled, and questioning each other brightly smiled. Who is this handsome nobleman we see? Whence is he, and whose attendant is he? Lo, he is dressed in a tutor's raiment, his decoration and embellishment. Thus they, and in a throng came forth to greet the one who had attained the lotus feet of Uttama Shloka, the worthy Lord, who is with finest poetry adored. With pure bashful glances and modesty, they pleased him with their smiles and pleasantry. They brought a seat, and when seated at ease, they questioned him and made inquiries. In private they urged him his speech address, sent by the Lord of Rama, great goddess. The cowherd damsel said, Having arrived here, we know you to be the associate of Yadupati, that you have been commissioned to come here to comfort his fond parents with good cheer. Indeed, elsewise there is nothing at all in the cow pastures for him to recall, but strong are the bonds of filial ties, and hard to break even for sages wise. Otherwise, people friendship but maintain so long as there is some mutual gain. As lover, when fulfilled, his lady flees, ravished flowers deserted are by bees. As even the well-adorned courtesan abandons a good though penniless man, Subjects a king incompetent forswear, no more graduates for their teacher care. When the priest his desired fee receives, he bids farewell, and the kind donor leaves. The birds forsake the trees of fruit devoid, the guest after he has his meal enjoyed. The beasts forsake a forest scorched by fire, a damsel is forsworn, though she desire. The cowherd dames their feelings thus confide, in word and deed and mind, identified in Govinda and Uddhava surround Krishna's envoy by fond attachment bound. They put aside all modesty and shame, and weeping sang of their beloved's fame, absorbed in recollection and love's pang of his boyhood and adolescence sang. One of them saw a straying honeybee, and took it for Krishna's envoy to be. In her deep absorption, disquieted, in wild fantasy, to the bee she said, the cowherd damsel said, "O honeysucker, friend of the great cheat, avaunt! Touch not with your moustache my feet, besmeared with the red kumkum powder fine, when Madhu's lord did in his arms entwine his beloved, and in embrace he pressed, and crushed the garland draped across her breast. Let him in Yadu's palace sue for grace, his envoy will be taunted in this place. He enchantment upon us once bestowed, of flower nectar from his lips that flowed, but forsook us to pine in anxious care, as you yourself ravished flowers forswear. Why does the lotus goddess serve his feet, renowned for false flattery and a cheat? She must have had her mind stolen away by the deception his praises convey. Why sing of Yadu's lord with praise replete? O 6-footed one, why old tales repeat? We are without a shelter to defend. Begone from here and praise Vijaya's friend, surrounded by a train of damsels fair, and his beloved will reward your care. Since she, no longer is by the heat oppressed, and soothed is burning passion in her breast. Who is the damsel on earth or in heaven, or who abides in the nether region, whom he cannot with his deceptive smile and arching brows win over and beguile? Goddess Fortuna doth herself entreat his grace, and worships the dust off his feet, with all dedication and pious care. But how can we with the goddess compare? And yet we can recount his hallowed fame, who bears of Uttama Shloka the name. O bee, remove your head from off my feet. You are a clever flatterer and cheat, which art from Mukunda you did receive, and come here as messenger to deceive. Since we did husbands and children forsake, and all the world only for his dear sake, now he, ungrateful, left us here beguiled, wherefore should we be with him reconciled? Like a cruel hunter from a hidden spot, unrighteously the monkey chief he shot. Subdued by one fond damsel's attachment, another suffered sore disfigurement. He seized Bali's offerings like a crow, then ungrateful sent him to realms below. All ties of friendship with him of dark hue let us abjure and no longer pursue, yet to speak of him and his deeds declare we never can abandon or forswear. Whoever accounts of his exploits hears, imbibes sweetest nectar into the ears, and, tasting but a drop of ecstasy, no longer sees worldly duality, and ruined thus they forsake hearth and home, subsist on alms, and in the forest roam, like birds who frequent the bower and wood, in wretchedness must make their livelihood. As the hunter with sweet music deceives, the black buck's consort deadly wound receives. We took as truth his sweet words as he smiled, and we were captivated and beguiled. Even so Cupid with torment assails, when he would scratch us with his fingernails. Therefore, faithful messenger and envoy, on other topics now your speech employ. What? Oh, dear friend, you have come back again? Has my beloved sent you to explain? I honour you and reverence convey. What is it that you have come here to say? Oh, gentle one, how would you take us there, when he is seated by his consort fair, who always keeps her in his arms compressed, and she always reclines upon his chest? Alas, O gentle one, oh, woe betide, in Madhu city Nanda's son doth bide. Doth he recall his father's household here? Doth he recall the cowherds, his friends dear? Doth he recall his maidservants, and thus sometime find occasion to talk of us? When will he place his hand upon our head, which doth the fragrance of our Guru shed? Sri Shuka said, Now, Uddhava, when hearing all this new, their eager longing for Krishna to view, he gave them assurances and consoled, and their beloved's message to them told. Sri Uddhava said, Oh, wondrous! Ye have reaped the full reward, supreme perfection by the world adored, since ye have dedicated and consigned to Almighty Vasudeva your mind. By vows and sacrifice and charity, by chanting, study and austerity, and other good deeds piously maintained, the love for Lord Krishna can be attained. But ye have an exalted state achieved. In the exclusive love ye have conceived for Uttama Shloka, and have made plain perfection that sages can hardly gain. It is the greatest fortune, I declare, that Lord's Son's body and homes ye forswear, and have chosen the supreme male adored, called Krishna, and have taken him for Lord. Ye have attained, wholehearted and complete, ad hoc Saja's favour with love replete, by showing me your love's perplexity. O blessed ones, ye have shown grace to me. Now, hearken to this message and envoy, a love letter dispatched to bring you joy. O blessed ones, I shall the same declare, who am his confidential minister. The illustrious one hath said, O dear ones, we can never be apart. I am the self in every creature's heart. As sky, air, fire, water, earth beside subsist in their evolutes and abide, so mind, senses, and breath I permeate. I am of the attributes the substrate. Within myself I create and sustain. Within myself I withdraw all again. Within my Maya power all exist. I am the self in whom gunas subsist. The self is full of consciousness refined, distinct, and by the gunas unconfined. But the self deluded of faculties, with sleep, dream, and waking identifies. Just as the man, awakening, is seen to undergo sublation of his dream, therefore the vigilant with mind and soul should practice self-restraint and sense-control. This is the consummation of the wise, of study, yoga, and austerities. renunciation, truth, and charity, as rivers disembogue into the sea. Far distant now, I from your sight remain, that you may deep contemplation attain, and thus attract your mind exclusively, and augment your fond affection for me. When a damsel's beloved is away, she thinks on him intently every way, so no more so than when her beloved is nigh, and present before her observing eye. Now you have invested your mind in me, and from the diverse faculties are free. Constant recollection of me maintain, and soon I will be with you once again. Those damsels who could not egress contrive, nor at the night rasa dancing arrive, those blessed ones contemplation maintained, enamoured of my deeds, and me attained. Sri Shuka said, Braja's damsels, when the message had heard, were consoled and with admiration stirred. Their beloved's counsel put them at ease, then spoke to Uddhava in words like these. The cowherd damsel said, "'Tis fortunate that Kamsa hath been slain, with all his kin who gave the Yadu's pain. 'Tis fortunate fulfilled Achyuta lives, surrounded now by his fond relatives. O gentle one, does Gada's elder now his love for the fair city women show? That love was meant for us, but with their wiles, with bashful glances and generous smiles, he has become the city women's lord, and is now by their fond glances adored. How now, in fine arts of amorous play, the city women over him hold sway, with their gestures and talks of love profound, he must by their fond affection be bound. Does Govinda recall, O pious one? Do we come up in his conversation? Does he with the city damsels discuss the subject of mere village girls like us? Does he recall those pleasant moonlit nights in Vrindavan with us in vast delights, where lilies and jessamine sweets convey, and the moon shed his cool and balmy ray, where in the rasa dancing, circling round, the chiming of ankle bells did resound, and as we did the deep forest traverse, we sang his praises in exquisite verse. Will Dasarha ever come here again, to us, tormented with sorrow and pain? Will he revive us, and misery end with his touch, as when Indra's rains descend? But wherefore should Krishna come here again, who has attained kingdom and his foes slain? There he with friends affectionate abides, surrounded by a throng of princess brides. For the great one, husband of goddess Sri, what are mere rustic damsels such as we? Who could serve his purpose who is self-willed, complete and perfect in himself fulfilled? Indeed, happiness is hopes to forsake, as once Pingala the courtesan spake. Albeit of this truth we are aware, fond hopes for Krishna we cannot forswear. Who could from sweet conversation refrain with Uttama shloka of worthy fame? Though he care not, the goddess Shri still cleaves, and always clings to him and never leaves. When Krishna and Sankarsana were here, they tended herds of kine, O master dear. They played upon their flutes and wandered round the rivers and the hills and pasture ground. All those awaken deep recollection of the cowherd chief Nanda's darling son. His footprints marking the ground here and there will not let us forget him or forswear. Oh, how can we forget his charming ways, his smiling glance that playful art displays, his honeyed speech, expressive of love's wiles, subdued our hearts, attended with his smiles. O Lord of Rama, goddess fair, O Braja's Lord, remover of despair, O dear Govinda, uplift from the brink of sorrow in which Gokula doth sink. Sri Shuka said, thus, hearing of Krishna's secret message, their fever of severance did assuage. They honoured Uddhava with worship due, whom as Adhokshaja himself they knew. There for a few more months he did remain, and dispelled all the cowherd damsel's pain, and songs of Krishna's exploits did recite, and filled all Gokula with pure delight. As long as Uddhava was resident in Nanda Gopa's cowherd settlement, for the cowherds it seemed a moment's time, absorbed in accounts of Krishna sublime. He saw the rivers, forests, hills and vales, flowers at which Hari's servant regales, in the cowherds inspired memory, reminding them of Krishna constantly. Thus Uddhava was fortunate to see the cowherd damsels' fond anxiety. He made for them of praise an offering, and with respect Uddhava 'gan to sing. Among all living beings incarnate, these cowherd dames have gained the supreme state. The highest ecstasy that can be gained in Govinda, the All-Soul, have attained. The transcendental object of desire, to which the fearful in this world aspire, which sages and ourselves would fain acquire. Sans talks on Ananta, what is the worth of noble pedigree or Brahmin birth? Where are these dames that roam the forest round, of loose morals, and wear such love profound for Krishna in such sentiment extreme, who is the divine Lord and Soul supreme? Certes, for one who worships constantly, the Lord shows grace though ignorant he be, as medicine to the patient bestows, a cure though of its virtue little knows. Nor Shri, his consort who dwells on his chest, nor lotus-scented nymphs of heaven blessed, and what of others, how may they compare in their fortunes with the attainment rare? These, while in festive rasa dancing paced, they were by his serpentine arm embraced. These lovesome damsels of Braja have won perfection and the rarest benison. They have forsaken home and family, transgressed the principles of chastity, which is attended with hardship and pain, the shelter of Mukunda's feet to gain, which the scriptures themselves, whom others teach, still find the object far beyond their reach. Let me be born a bush or vine or shrub, that me with their dusty feet they may rub. Indeed, he is adored by goddess Sri. Birthless Brahma worships his dignity. The masters of yoga, power refined, can only contemplate him in the mind. But Lord Krishna his lotus feet did press upon their breasts, assuaging hot distress. I bow in the dust of the holy feet of Braja's damsels, and for grace entreat, by whom Hari in song is glorified, and the three worlds are cleansed and purified. Sri Shuka said, now from the cowherd dames he took his leave, did Nanda and Yashoda's grace receive, and as the cowherds did farewell convey, Dasarha clomb his car to ride away. But as he was thence about to depart, the cowherds brought in hands gifts to impart. Nanda with affection, as tears forth broke, then with the other cowherds to him spoke. May our mental faculties be consigned, and unto Krishna's lotus feet resigned. May our bodies to him prostrate remain, and may our words express his holy name. Though in this world inured to wander still, wherever as the Almighty doth will, may worship gifts and our holy sacrament fond attachment for Lord Krishna augment. Thus, having honoured him, the cowherds there, O king, their love for Krishna did declare. Again to Mathura Uddhava hied, where Krishna was the guardian and guide. There, at Krishna's feet, he prostration made, the cowherds messages of love conveyed. To Rama and Vasudeva did bring gifts and fine presentations for the king. Here ends chapter 47 in book 10 of the great and glorious Bhagavat Purana, the text beloved of swan-like saints, sung by the son of Vyasa. Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Now, here's an extra little verse from Sri Raghunath Das Goswami's Sri Brajavilasa Stava, verse 99. Purna prema rasai sada murabido dasa sakha yacha priyam swapranar buddhato pitat padayugam hitve hamasandasa prityayo nivasangstadiya kataya gostam buhur jivaya ayatam kila pasya krishnam ititam murdna vaham Uddhavam. The fond servant and friend, the bon-ami, full fraught with love for Mura's enemy, more dear than millions of his vital heirs, for 10 long months his severance he bears. And in the distant cowherd settlement he spent his time with joy and brought content, the narratives of Krishna's exploits told, and constantly his qualities extolled. To the cowherds who did their life regain, he said, "You will see Krishna here again. I bow and bear the feet upon my head of Uddhava, Krishna's most beloved." Hare Krishna.